My family has always had a lot of dogs. We've only ever lived on ranches, so they have plenty of room to run around, and there are a total of 6 people: my mum, 52F, my dad, 50M, my aunt, 62F, my older brother, 20M, me, 18M, and our younger brother, 11M. We recently lost our lab, who we had had since I was 3, to old age, so our remaining dogs are a Chihuahua Mini Pinscher mix female, about 9 years old, a Red Heeler Australian Cattle Dog mix male, about 2.5 years, a Great Pyrenees female, 1.5 years, and a Dalmatian Afghan mix female, 8 months. Our lab was weak for the last few months before she finally passed a few days ago, and for those final few months my brother's dog, the PYR, did everything in her power to push her out of the pack. They had to be separated at least twice a week, and after the second incident I started pushing for literally any kind of training. My brother, who paid for the poor dog himself and discovered through her that he was not a dog person when all of the responsibility fell to him, shut me down with the excuse that he was no longer employed and couldn't afford training classes. My mum pushed back as well, saying that any training would have to have everyone on board, and since my older brother and aunt would not put the work in, it would just confuse her and do more harm than good. When our PYR first started having issues with behavior, I was not around often, as I was tied up with high school and several clubs. I still helped where I could, but between 3-time intensive after-school activities I usually wasn't getting home until well after dark, and most of my knowledge of her behaviors came to me second-hand. I'm home far more often, and these days I'm having to interfere constantly with some conflict or another. Today, it took 3 of us to break up a one-sided fight between the PYR, who is at least 80 pounds, and the Chihuahua, who weighs about 12. Sometimes she is set off because she's protecting something, as PYRs have an issue with resource guarding, but there was nothing nearby of any value and the attack came completely out of nowhere. My brother was nowhere to be found until they were already separated, and I angrily snapped at him that if he didn't get his dog's behavior under control he would come home from class one day to find he didn't have one anymore. Frankly, I don't see any way forward with a dog who regularly attacks the others, especially when no one else has any interest in putting real work into correcting her behavior. There is only so much one person can do, and since our youngest pup is entirely my responsibility, I am often too busy with her care and training and separation anxiety. But when I brought up the idea to my dad, he shut it down immediately, and said she was getting better as she grew up. She isn't. I feel like I have the right, especially since my pup is the one who takes the brunt of her attacks. WIBTA if I push the issue and put my foot down?